For this video, we're going to look at reflexive verbs. And this is something that typically, as English speakers, we do have a hard time with in Spanish because they're used much more frequently in Spanish. And I want to give you an example. First of all, a reflexive verb is one where the subject and the object in the sentence are the same person. In English, we express this with myself. So if you cut yourself, or hurt yourself, or if you love yourself, hug yourself, that's how we express that. In Spanish, we're going to use me. You probably learned this all the way back at the beginning when you learned how to say me llamo, and a lot of people think that you're saying my name is. You're really not. When you say me llamo, for example, me llamo Sarah, I am using a reflexive verb, and I'm really saying I call, because we know that this is conjugated in the yo form, and then me is going to be myself. I call myself Sarah, even though for us we don't think of it that way because I didn't name myself. My parents named me. So usually we don't tell students that at the very beginning because it's a confusing concept. But now it'll help you understand the rest of these. Because things like me baño means I bathe myself. Where in English, you would probably just say, I get a shower or I take a bath. You don't have to say it yourself because it's obvious. If you're bathing someone else, like I often bathe my daughter, I would say it then. And in Spanish, you always have to say who you're bathing. So again, this is conjugated normally. I bathe. And then my reflexive pronoun, myself. You'll notice that the reflexive pronouns do have to go immediately in front of the conjugated verb. They can also be attached to the end of the verb, but it cannot be conjugated. But we will see those here in our list, that all of these are ending with say. And that's going to help us because when you see a list of verbs and you see a say at the end, you know that verbs in Spanish end in AR, ER, and IR. So what is that say doing there? Well, it's telling me, it's a hint, that this is a reflexive verb and I need to use a reflexive pronoun with it. The reflexive pronouns are not optional like the subject pronouns. You have to use them. So I'd like to go over these and do a little bit of practice with them so that we can include them into our daily routines because these are words that everybody uses, everybody does. Some of them several times a day, and we can really be very conversational with them. Let's practice for pronunciation purposes because we have levantarse, bañarse, lavarse las manos. Manos is irregular. It's feminine even though it ends in an O. Lavarse la cara. Cepillarse los dientes. Cepillarse el pelo. These ones are going to conjugate like regular verbs. They're all AR. And then the ones below are going to have slight spelling changes. So despertarse, when you conjugate it, you're going to take the E and you're going to add an I in front of it. The E becomes an IE. And I'll show you an example of that. The same with acostarse and dormirse. Then vestirse has an E to I. I'm sorry, you should have mentioned acostarse and dormirse. The O turns into a UE. And vestirse, the E turns into an I. Now, you probably recognize a couple of these verbs, and you're probably thinking, I've seen that verb before, but I didn't use it in this way. And you're absolutely right. A verb like lavar means to wash, because we do wash other things. We wash cars, we wash dishes. Anything you're cleaning with water is washing. We wash clothing. So it's really important to understand that every verb could be reflexive if you're doing it to yourself. And every reflexive verb we see here could not be reflexive if we're not doing it to ourselves. If I'm getting my daughter up, bathing my daughter, if I'm washing her hands for her. It's not as common, of course, but it is possible. So it's really important to understand that. Dormir, you've probably used before. To sleep, but when we make it reflexive, it's to fall asleep. It's that moment that you actually go into sleep mode. So you wouldn't say, I fall asleep for 8 hours, like you would say, I sleep for 8 hours. It's just that exact moment where you change from conscious to not conscious. So what I'd like for you to do is the exercise. Take a look at the pictures and just label them with the correct verb. For practice, you don't have to conjugate it yet. We're going to work on that next.